Hey YouTube, me again. If you're new to the channel, I'm TK. I work at Hannah Motor Services, you can see here. I'm in Christchurch, New Zealand, and I specialise in these lovely things. So, this is a 1978 1275 GT Clubman, as you can see. Getting laughed at. Now, bit of background on myself. Last year I decided that that Hannah Motor Services should invest in proper training for SU tuning. So, talking to AC Dodd and Darren Haynes, we made that a reality, which was fantastic. Since then I've tuned just shy of 100 cars. I think I'm on tune number 94 or 95. But this is my own car right here, this one. So I tuned this car as part of my training with Darren. He's in Colorado. I'll tag them both in the description down below. So I tuned the car. So I'll just go over and show you it. So it's a standard 1275 GT. It has an HI44 carburetor on it. It's got a MED stub stack, velocity stack under the filter. As you can see, an alloy radiator with a 1.1 bar cap on it. All very normal kind of stuff to see. Now, after tuning the car and optimizing the advanced curve initially, and then deciding I needed a high power distributor with a better curve, we then decided to do the training on distributor recurving. So I've got a wee machine in here. Sorry for the mess in here. This is my engine room, so you can see it's a bit of a bomb site. But we've got this lovely machine right here. You see here's a distributor that we're redoing. But anyway, I recurved the distributor in this car, optimized all that, and I decided to run it for a week to start doing some fuel economy tests. Now, also a wee bit of background on the drive to and from work. I only live about 10 minutes away from Hannah Motor Services, so the car doesn't really have a chance to get to temperature as such. It had an 82 degree thermostat in it, so yeah, it was always cold short runs. So I decided to do a fuel economy test with this tuned car. Now, bearing in mind with the high power ignition system, it was at 14.7 AFR, basically nearly right through the rev range. On acceleration, we're on about 13.2, 13.4 AFR. So, nice and punchy, but still, sniffing the fuel right throughout. But it was still, in my eyes, still using quite a bit of fuel. And I do apologise for the state of my face. I have been working on some cars today, so. Decided to do, a week's worth of driving really calmly, just to see what sort of mileage I was going to get if I drove it like there was a brick under the accelerator. So I got a recording on it. In the original recording, I'll just try and do this in such a way that you can't quite tell what's going on here. There we go. It's 28.7 miles per gallon, and that is imperial. So here we go, 9.84 litres per 100 k's, or 10.16 kilometres per litre. I decided to work out why my fuel economy was so bad, especially with driving it really sensibly. I thought, it was drive it nice and calmly, and it'll be fine. This dirt on my forehead is starting to annoy me. So, anyway, we decided to do some digging, and with a couple of video calls with AC, he gave me some advice. Now, for those of you who, you know, I'll just refresh the screen so it's live again. For those of you who have one of these lovely things, so this is a intake manifold for an SU carburetor from Mini Spares. Notice it's got the heater pipe going through the middle of it. That's for coolant. These work best when they're warm, so I've recently learned. Now, mainly the reason for that is the fuel's going in here, and if it's hitting a cold manifold, it doesn't really have a chance to go from an atomized state to a vaporized state. So what I mean by that is, so we just go to the board again. You've got so heated manifold, vaporized, and cold manifold, atomized. I hope I got that right. I'm reading it, but yeah, vaporized, atomized, and you can kind of see what's happening here. So all these little dots are basically, as I've drawn in, fuel, you know, droplets essentially. So you can see there's a few bigger ones in here with the atomized cylinder with the cold manifold. So with the vaporized fuel going through a warm manifold, it's, you know, it's a lot thinner. It spreads out quite a way further throughout the cylinder, but because it's a finer fuel, because it's vapor, it fires off really easily. So when you're when you're driving and trying to be, you know, really economical on the main road, cruising at 60 mile an hour, 100 kilometers an hour, whatever you use, that's what you're after. You're wanting vaporized fuel essentially in that cylinder, because it'll fill up the cylinder nicely and it'll burn cleanly and efficiently. Because what happens is all these bigger droplets from the atomized side with the cold manifold, some of this doesn't burn off, and what it does, it will basically, you can either stick to the bores, you know, wash the bores, or it goes out your exhaust. Often, you know, you'll see a wet piston, or, you know, something like that, but yeah, it's basically showing that you're wasting fuel because it's not burning off these massive, you know, droplets where it should be, like this. If you're looking for economy, I mean, something like this is fine when you're absolutely hard boot into it, because this is going to burn slower, which is fine for, you know, hard acceleration, but that's a different application altogether. I won't get tied up in that. There are other people that have got videos on this, so Uncle Tony's Garage has a good video. I'll try and tag that in the description down below as well. But doing that, so plumbing the manifold in, because I hadn't, I noticed a great improvement. Now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky for me to try and explain. So I'm not that fantastic at explaining the sciencey things behind it. But because this is what it was like, all the vaporized fuel that was in the cylinder with the little dots was going out the exhaust and showing me a reading of 14.7 AFR. But then, because I then heated the manifold, this same amount of fuel became this state, and everything burnt. But then, because all that fuel's burning, it's showing me essentially a richer mixture on the analyzer, which then states that I was putting too much fuel in it to start with, but also getting a clean reading. I hope you're still with me on this. So by heating the manifold, I then had to take fuel away from it, because I actually drove it for another week after plumbing the manifold in, and I actually changed the thermostat as well, because I wanted to safely jam in as much heat into that as I could. Because it had a 1.1 bar cap on it, you can safely run typically an 88 degree thermostat. This is in the Haynes manuals as well, being in 1978. I think the listing changed from 1974 onwards, and 1976 onwards as well. So open your manuals, have a read of them. There's lots of good information in there that just happens to get overlooked. Spark plug gaps is one as well. But anyway, I decided that I'd drive it for a week with that manifold plumbed in, and found out very quickly that all that extra fuel that was in the cylinder from the cold manifold, not having it plumbed in, was getting used. The car was going a lot better because it was burning it all, but it's because it was giving a richer mix. Anyway, the next reading I got, I didn't unfortunately record because I was so shocked. I was like, no. It was about 21 miles to the gallon without any tuning corrections after plumbing that manifold in. And I talked to AC about it, and he explained it like this, basically. He could explain it far better than what I could. So anyway, I decided to recheck on the analyzer what was going on. Found exactly what we talked about. All that extra fuel was being burnt off, but also because it was being burnt off, there was less content for the, or less oxygen content for the analyzer to read, which is just an AFR gauge. So basically a whole lot of extra fuel being used. The engine's now got more power, but at what cost? But anyway, I decided to restore the tune back to its original readings. 14.7 right through, and 13.2 to 13.4 on acceleration, and drove it for another week. Same driving style as well. So like there was a brick under the accelerator, holding up everyone I could behind me, but without actually, holding up everyone behind me. Driving sensibly, but, no rapid acceleration, watching traffic, and momentum driving. So I wasn't coming up to an unnecessary stop. It was all smooth transitions, like if I could see a clear roundabout. I wasn't flying through it, but, I was, I wasn't slowing down, but I wasn't speeding up. There was no massive braking, no massive acceleration. And my next reading from that following week, after doing that, recorrecting the tune, so taking fuel away from it, back to give it the original readings. So here we are. So that was the original reading. A heated manifold with an 88-degree thermostat. We got 34.26 miles per gallon, a 19.37% increase in efficiency. So, you look over here, we've got 8.245 litres per 100 k's. So I've kind of written that all around the wrong way, so you want to kind of look at these numbers here. Gives you a better idea. So 10.16 k's per litre, and then 12.13 k's per litre. And as you can see, on 1 litre of fuel, I've now managed to go an extra 2 kilometres just by doing that. So had I done this first and then tuned the car originally, that's the number I would have ended up with. But because I just didn't know, that's what I was doing, and I was wasting fuel. Now I've got other series of tests that I've already done on this car, so we'll go back and I'll just show you what's going on. You can see it's a wee bit packed in here. This is a Friday afternoon, everyone's already gone home. But as you can see, the heater tap, heater hose goes into the manifold, comes back through. I've just looped this around. It's not tidy, but it works. And anyway, back through into the dash, into the heater. And then it comes back out here into the bottom radiator hose. Nice and simple, nice and easy. So just by doing those two things, the thermostat and the heating the manifold, plumbing it into the cooling system, nearly a 20% gain in efficiency. So in my eyes, that's worth it any day of the week. Because, well, you're saving money on fuel, because you're not wasting it, but you don't have a whole lot of extra fuel going down your cylinders that's being wasted, which is basically, effectively, ever so gently washing your bores, in a way, wearing your rings out, and prematurely wearing your engine, essentially. Yes, you're rinsing your exhaust out with fuel, but who really wants that? You'd rather be using it than losing it. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this video up now. The next one's going to be about fuel pressure regulators and what sort of difference they make. I have already done that test, and the other benefits that can have as well. I've also got another video about driving styles, which naturally is, if anyone is clued on already, driving style is a big one. But anyway, I'll go into that later and just show you what I found on that, because I have done other tests regarding that. So watch out for those videos. I don't know when they're going to be out, but there's also there's going to be one on suspension and wheel alignments, tyre pressures, and that'll basically cover it all. So you'll be able to see from my original 28.7 miles per gallon right through to my final number. Now, I have already got an open road number, but I've already got a fuel pressure regulator on there, so I'm not going to spill the beans on that. But for those watching that are following me on Facebook, you're probably already well aware of what it's doing. If you know AC Dodd, you're probably also well aware of what it's done. But this is to point you in the direction of this is what you can achieve if you set the car up correctly before getting it tuned. That way, you know, as I've stated already, so you're not wearing out your engine and you're not wasting money at the pump. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this one up here. I've got some other bits and pieces to get done. As you can see, I've got an engine apart there, so I've got to get that one assembled. I've got some other bits and pieces to do. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. As I've already said, if you've liked watching this video and you want to know more, please like, share, subscribe, and comment if you wish. All that lovely stuff. And we'll see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching.